So hello. See, I made a bunch of videos last weekend, and because, as I have told you all repeatedly, I am not good at this, I ruined them all. They're gone. So I'm going to try and remake a little bit. Maybe there'll be improvements or whatnot. But yeah, anyways. So last weekend, I was watching Real Time with Bill Maher, and Musk did an interview on there. Now, I've been kind of hard on Mr. Musk because of this whole cart before the horse perspective I have, I guess. And I would just like to say, I don't think I could have handled that interview as well as he did. I mean, sure, Bill Maher's on his side, so it's not like he's going to set him up to fail. But I don't know that I could do that, go on TV and answer questions somebody else has for me. It's well outside of my comfort zone. And it kind of looked like it was outside of his too, even with all the experience he's got. But I guess there's a couple reasons I wanted to talk about that interview. One, when you have a conversation today about the innovators that are moving us forward as a species, Musk is right at the top of the list. Cart before the horse or not, he is right at the top. He is someone we look up to. We look forward to seeing what they're going to do next. He said a few interesting things. But what I'm worried about is still that cart before the horse problem. See, when I contact or mention, if I contact a company that looks like they're doing something along the lines and I say the word terraforming, I get, oh, we're not that ambitious, or no, that's not something humans could do right now, or the dreaded, like, don't you know that that's all fake, that global warming's just a scam, it's not a real thing? I mean, it's either unnecessary or just too big for us to worry our pretty little minds over. And one of the things missing from this talk about tech, we've had it for decades now, since the computers started. We really started talking about tech. Remember how all of this was going to change and our lives were going to improve? Instead, we've got Johan Hari writing books about how this is killing our focus, how people think they're multitasking when really they're just destroying their ability to focus on things. I'm going to talk about that in another video, but we don't have a national goal or a dream. I mean, it seems logical, the logical next step for a national or global dream would be to terraform. If the problem they say is big enough, it's terrifying enough, this global warming problem, if it is that, then why isn't this the next step? I mean, at a personal level, it's a blue bin, right? For me, it's making sure I recycle the things I buy, make smarter purchases. But the blue bin really just isn't enough. They're telling us that they don't even recycle 70% of the plastics we throw away. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But so at the personal level, it's solar panels on our houses, blue bins at the curb, making smarter purchases. That's it. At the personal homeowner level, that's our options. Try to be mindful for ourselves. At the estate or farm level, there's power generation, from wind to solar to hydro. If you have a farm, you have more opportunity to make more of an impact. Not only can you determine how you farm your land, what crops you produce, but you can make a difference in how you treat your animals. A lot of the problem for global warming, they're telling us, is that we eat meat. To farm that meat is causing an awful lot of pollution. It seems like the personal to the estate or farm level, a lot of progress could be made here. Especially if we look at, all right, the farm level, for one, you can start to, at that level, I'm not saying it's on farmers, I'm not saying it's on people that own massive property, but I'm saying that's where the opportunity starts. When you have more land, you can generate more power. You can generate more systems that work better together. When you talk about the corporate level, now you're talking about larger property size, you're talking about more capacity to generate energy. As soon as you get large enough, you can stop thinking about, well, am I generating wind, water, solar, geo? You can start thinking about what potential is there in the land we have to use. What is the water table like? What are the wind currents like? Can we use geographical features to enhance what we generate and thus increase our productivity? And at the corporate level, you have to understand something. I've been down on corporations before. I'm not a huge fan because, well, quite honestly, it doesn't matter why I'm not a fan. But what we have learned from this massive amount of data that our society has been able to collect and generate and collect, I suppose cart before the horse, right? Is corporations have taught us a lot about resource management, especially when it comes to humans. Now, they haven't been perfect at this, of course. It's run by humans. Corporations are human. Not in a legal sense. I don't agree with that. But they're run by humans, created by humans, run by humans. Corporations always get me to go off on a rant and lose my focus. But at that level, you can start to do better management, better design. At the personal level, we can do a lot of things. At the corporate level, we can control, we can increase the flow, increase the capacity, we can manage more properly. It seems like that's the thing that corporations have taught us. Going forward, they've taught us how to take large-scale things and manage them. Now, my dreams are kind of more at this next level, the national, multinational level. I want to do things like terraforming a planet. I want to affect weather. If I were to terraform North America, I would start in the ocean off of California. I would create a zone the entire length of the United States that was just for the production and protection of phytoplankton. Because that allows us to change and affect weather. We can start to gather data, like if we have X, it causes Y. What are the parameters for all of this? How much do we need? How much of a swath of the ocean do we need to control? How populated does it have to be before we start seeing real changes, something we can measure? That project alone is 10 years probably in the making. To set aside the land, to set aside the laws, to protect, to record all the data. Do we have to go through multiple El Niños or El Niñas? There is data we need to collect yet, and we have the tools to collect it. We have the understanding to create the circumstances needed to generate the data. I would change the weather pattern coming off the West Coast with an eye to eventually eliminate our desert. I'd send a freshwater corridor coming through Canada, all the way through, right adjacent to the deserts. I would start, look, this is the national level. Most of my thinking is on the large scale. But it doesn't mean I can't show you how you get to it. How you get to it is the personal level develops further, the estate or farm level develops further and then connects to other estates or farms. Large tracts of land become focused on doing just this. You don't grow your civilization without the power and the infrastructure to do so. But this is an awful lot of work. It's an awful lot of work. Why should we do something like this, especially if there isn't a whole lot of money in it? I mean, what I'm saying right now is more likely to cost us money. And you know what? It's fine if it does. See, one of the things that happens when it comes to our voting is one of the things that have made it very hard for us to get reasonable progress on certain subjects like weapons or abortion is that we don't like to dedicate resources as long as if it's something we don't agree with, we don't want to vote to dedicate resources to it. So if you're someone that doesn't believe that this is a problem or doesn't understand the dream or the vision of what life could be like, then you don't want to vote to allocate those resources. You want to protect it. You want to keep it away. You want it to go towards shit you care about. So part of the problem is inspiration. We don't have these large-scale dreams anymore. At a national level, we don't have it. We haven't had it since Kennedy. Getting to the moon. Wouldn't it be great if we did turn? I mean, even if the naysayers are right and there is no problem for global warming, that there really is no overpopulation, there really is no resource problem, you need to show that this can generate a better way of life, a better standard of living. At the personal level, it's all cost right now. It needs to be inspirational. At the estate level, it's all cost right now. It needs to be a goal. There needs to be a coordinated effort towards something, towards improving our planet. At the corporate level, there's no incentive except for perspective. People view your company as green. Maybe it gives you a bump. You can stick a sticker on your unrecyclable wrapping. What reason? Let me see if there's another incentive to move on to the large scale here. We have got multiple problems facing us right now. We've got focus that's eroding in our species. We've got income inequality in a gap that's unprecedented. We've got racial, sexual inequality basically everywhere we look, supposedly. Or I'm not even going to say, get the sarcasm out of it. Problems wherever we look. Educational. We've got an enormous amount of debt for an education that we were told would improve our living standards, but instead it just stuck a noose around our necks and got us nowhere. Oh, what does a change like this? How does a change like this affect education? If you go past the personal level, let's say 100 years down the line from here, we actually have contiguous personal owners, estate owners, corporate owners that are going to this new model. What we said before was that college education would save us. It really didn't. But now we're talking about, since that didn't work, let's get back to the trades, vocational training. Well, that's all good if there's actually a sustainable way to work there. But from what I can tell about the trades, and I've been in them for 31 years, our unions have been destroyed. What remains is hanging on by a thread. And for good reasons. We turned our unions political, and then we turned them into ways to generate money, and then they became corrupted, and they went away. But in a world where we're all talking about training for a future, and nobody knows what the future looks like, because there is no collective goal to design that future yet. It's just whatever technology comes along, we're at its whim and mercy. If we want to change how we do things in the future, there's nothing stopping us from putting in all of these other changes. Sexual equality, racial equality, financial equality, opportunistic equality. How about we just got through with this decades-long war in the Middle East, and we did what we're calling nation building. You remember that? We were trying to build nations, and it took us like a week or two, whatever, to win the war. And everything after that was nation building. The whole quagmire was nation building. We wanted to give roads and schools and whatnot. But look at our roads and schools. Why do you think this approach does not work to nation building? Because we don't know. We've just compounded and got a nation. We just pushed west and built companies and built factories, and this is what we got out of it. We didn't have a national plan. The closest thing we got to it was our national road system. But we didn't have a plan for nation building when it came to building our own nation. Why would it work when we go and try to build somebody else's nation? In many, many metrics, this change would be useful. I don't imagine that even if right now I uploaded this video and somebody saw it and they just set the ball rolling and it caught fire, I don't think that I would live to see the things I envision. It's a generational thing. I don't think that there's a generation on the planet yet that will see the things that I picture. But we have a lot of problems, and this could solve a good number of them. This new approach. I think that's the real value in it. I mean, yeah, it'd be great to be able to control global warming. I don't know that we want to stop it entirely, but I'd like to have it under our control. There's this source of opposition that confounds me, that I'm trying to find a way to reason with. There's this farmer in Brazil who is expanding his farm. He's on camera, he's being interviewed, and he is in the rainforest, expanding his farm by cutting down what we call the lungs of the planet. And when asked, he says, well, if me cutting down the rainforest kills millions of people, that's God's plan. And I have tried to point out in the past that missing the point of that argument. Because if this is God's plan, if this is the plan, then we're not paying attention to the rules of it very well. We've got the whole watchword when it comes to sin, but I think we're missing the rest of the point. I'd like to see it hit the corporate level in my lifetime, though, because I would like to show that if you build your society like this, you need to be able to control what you import and export. Which leads me to, I'd like to have, if you got to the point where you're chaining these together, where, let's say at the farm level, you've got a good 20 farms in a row. We're talking about miles and miles at a stretch, where you're generating enough energy for the farms, for the residential, and you get to the point where you'd like to put a company into this new thing you're building. I often think that I'd like to see it be a plastics corporation. Because at this stage, you've got national coverage. People are paying attention to what you're doing. And part of our problem with plastics is that nobody seems to be paying attention whatsoever. The problem is our plastics are so diverse that it's impossible to recycle them all at this point. So what you do is you regulate what plastics you bring in, and you create the plastics. See, if one of the problems is this plastic is not the same as the cellophane on whatever, or the sandwich bag. So you'd need 50 whatever different kinds of frickin' vats or machines or processes for each different kind of plastic. That's a side effect of the global economy. Each manufacturer that is required to use a plastic in their product goes to a plastics manufacturer and they manufacture it their way. At the national level, you've already got, at the estate level, you've already got where you can bring in companies. You can dictate what those companies do, how they behave in their environments. At the national level, you can regulate what comes in, what goes out. I'd really like to see the plastics industry undergo a revolution. Either way, I can't get you past the idea of terraforming as an impossibility. Just too grand a dream for humanity at this time. Without being able to show you that it doesn't have to be, all right, everybody, ditch your jobs right now, grab a shovel, and we're all going to go save the planet. There needs to be a process that leads up to it. Because a lot of people seem to need to be convinced. I'm going to need to have larger scale operations to show that this is possible. Anyway, I'm at over 20 minutes. I hope I saved the gist of the first of the videos I lost here. And I apologize for the irregularity of my posting. I think I've now made some changes that make it possible to make it easier here. Change my incentives a little bit. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.